Here we go. It's time for another sprint zone. This one's for 10:24, and it's a nice sunny day. In fact, it might be one of the last sunny days before the end of the year, so I am happy to be out. The crew looks good, and noticeable, Mr. Lawyer's vest is just flapping. That's a lot of watts being bled off there. Not at this speed, but it might come into play later on. I haven't made a lot of those comments lately, but I figure since that one stood out, I would say that. Looking up front, you've got me, and of course, there's Dean Davis. His fame, of course, is being the better half of the legendary Diana Hassel, winner of many age group Ironman, etc. triathlons. But I digress. Everyone is sort of organized here, and I think we have one gentleman that pulls off to change his jacket. That was a good move. Definitely a wise thing not to sit in the middle of the pack and take off a jacket. I've seen a lot of people do that in the past on other rides, and although it's always went well, it's a bit iffy. And now it is time for the contest to begin, and everyone makes it around the corner right about now. Ian decides he wants to take a little flyer, and he barely stays within the rules of engagement because not everyone was actually around the corner when he started to move off there. I'm not really threatened by this one, and I'm not going to go chase. But while we have a little bit of time, I would like to thank Scott for his footage, JC for his telemetry also, along with Scott's. That would help me in this little podcast. But for some reason, Byron decides that he needs to go after Ian. And I was perfectly happy to let Ian sit out there. I don't know. I thought maybe Byron got a little bit of Cat 5 fever, because that's the kind of thing Cat 5s do. They chase down flipping everything. And clearly, and no disrespect, Ian's not a GC contender. So what is up with that? In any case, it looks like we are chasing because Byron up front is dangerous. So we got Scott, looks like Curtis, myself, and we are going pretty hard. I'm looking at my 30-second power, 300 watts. John Kraft's 30-second power was around 300. Scott's 30-second power being up front in the chase, way over 300, coming down as he starts to back off, and we have a little bit of a rotation trying to pull these recalcitrants back. Looking rearward, early on, Dean had let a little bit of a gap, so it looks like John Lawyer closed that one because it looked like there was a little bit of lethargy and not a lot of people wanted to go around Dean. Dean, well played there, because we were up front pretty much the last, I don't know, half mile or so up County Road 5. Other people need to take up the mantle. JC, of course, is always willing to help, and looking at his power, he is more than happy to bring these guys back, and it is pretty much almost Grupo Compacto, but I've got to believe that there's a little bit of a gap between some of the people that are lagging back there. Yeah, and way back there is a little bit of separation. And this is to be expected when you are not wanting to do the work and you pause for a second and you wait for somebody else to come by. Back up front, here comes JC, ready to pull through, pulling some good wattage after we brought back Byron. Curtis on my wheel, Scott on my wheel. Byron coming back after that little one, and it looks like Elisa and Dean and crew are bringing us back after that little separation. And now JC is perfectly happy to be at the front and do a lot of work. I'm sitting second wheel, and I'm not all that pleased about it, because it seems like it's a lot of work. JC's power, the mid 200s, mine 200, and Scott being a few riders back, even though he's a bigger rider, much, much, much less wattage than I have to put out to stay up on the wheel of JC. Now he's got a more aerodynamic bike, deep dish wheels, looks like 50 mil or whatever. So JC is definitely a little more aero than myself, but I'm surprised that Scott is, even though he's like 3 riders back, 50 watts below me for the 30-second power. And for those people who don't understand power, and there's a lot of you out there, that's flipping huge. There goes Roby, who was waiting for us, and he has caught the lead group as he accelerates to get in the posse. pretty big selection here, and everyone is in contention at this point. This is just a testimony to how strong everyone is and how everyone has gotten throughout the year. A lot of folks going out to TTH, people doing Zwift and whatever ever trainings, people have gotten coaches, doing sword, doing war, and I can see the big difference from a year and a half ago on this ride where these kind of speeds would not have been attained and we'd be having more people rotating. But with the introduction of supers, and I'm going to throw JC in there with the supers, and that's folks with 300, 350 plus FTP, that makes a huge difference as we are strung out now. John Kraft at front looking strong, 300 plus watt, 30-second power. My 30-second power over 240, and that is well over my meager, modest FTP. So I am hurting here. I've also got the heart rates and the various speeds there. So it looks like you can see John up front, 165. Scott's heart rate much lower, mine a little bit lower. Not that it really means much for me because I have this wrist heart rate monitor. So anyway, we switch over to Scott's camera because this is where my camera takes a lot of time to switch over to the new SD file. And so in order to keep the power and everything matched, I did a little bit of editing to keep that cool. Anyway, we are back in sync, and here we go with the big man, Byron Besserell, aka Superman, also known as B-Train, goes to the front. And now this is really, really, really dangerous. You see Byron up there, JC up there, Mr. Lawyer coming through, Roby coming through on the outside. Who's doing the work? JC sits up, Grupo Compacto, and it looks like Scott's happy to sit on JC's wheel, but now finally makes it to the front. And I tack on the back here, trying to recover. When Byron came through, that took a little bit out of me. And still 30-second power, it's coming down, but still in the 180s. Heart rate still up there, and relatively speaking, it's higher than it's been all day. Tim is tacked onto the back, and it looks like we have an attack off the front. B-Train going for it, trying to keep people honest. JC coming back behind me, and maybe this is Byron's attempt to test JC's mettle to see if in fact he went too deep. I'm barely hanging on here, but JC, look at the power he's putting out. Easily, just comfortably going by me, unconcerned at all. And a little bit of acceleration there. 450 watts brings him easily back in contention. And this is where I have to say adios at this point. I was a little bit tired from the week's earlier rides. Probably that Zwift ride the night before wasn't the best idea. But hey, I was having fun. As we look at the group drifting away, we got Scott's upper right-hand camera, Scott at the front putting out a lot of wattage. But it seems like he must be taking it somewhat easy, only 130 watts. I think he is sat up, and I noticed a little bit of lull in the group as it looks like they did not gain a lot on me. JC's power, 30-second power, in the single double digits, 80. Scott finally picking it up, and it looks like Curtis going to the front here, as I have switched cameras for the main view because nobody cares what I was doing. But let's see what's happening up front, and this is my first time looking at this. Dean makes a nice push over the top of that little grade. Elisa unbelievably making her mark in the peloton. She is going to be one to watch on the local scene. And I understand that she has her application in the first city, so maybe she'll be wearing the green colors next year. And if they are wise, they will accept her application. Coming through and looking at the rear, JC's happy, and Mr. Mellinger hanging out back, trying to be very inconspicuous, and I didn't even know he was here. But good to see he is back there. Nice radar unit he's got, and interesting saddlebag decorations. At the back of the pack, strongmen are unconcerned, but looking at Scott and JC's 30-second power in the low 300s. So you know it is go time. It is time to push. John's instantaneous power is up over 500, 600, 700 as he moves to the front to bring back, it looks like probably Byron up there. It looks like Scott's caught behind some of the traffic here. Dean's pulled off. His run at the money is gone. Marcella looking fairly strong in here. Everyone pushing her hard. Curtis is being pushed back after his little jaunt up front. Even Roby is unable to grab the men up front. And what do we have here? People, it looks like, are blocking Scott slightly. He's on the yellow line, trying to get by, trying to get some draft here. There's Mark kind of weaving a little bit all over the place. And there we go. Roby makes an attack up the right. Mr. Lawyer's giving up the ghost. Mark trying to get on the wheel of Roby, and it looks like we are not going to be able to catch the lead group as Scott fades off and gets himself easily a top 10. And it is testimony to those people that do a little bit of work. It's hard to stay in contention. So that was nice, Scott. You went out there, you pushed hard. Dean pushed hard. Mr. Lawyer pushed hard. A lot of the wheel suckers came through near the end. So that's what they do. And no disrespect, you do what you can do, but mad respect to the people like JC animating the group. Byron keeping everybody honest. Well done, everyone. Well done. I wish I could have been there to see that firsthand, but not my day. And it looks like, in fact, a good time was had by all. Making a little turn up here. Very nice. I didn't even make it to this turn. I was like way back. Let's see how this looks. Yep, a little bit of relaxation there. And we see some of the other strong men coming through. Well done, as I said, well done. Until next time, peace out. Looks like this might be the last one for the year, at least in these temperatures. So until next warm day, peace.